What do you see as the bad things about immigration, illegal or legal at all?
Well, one, illegal immigration is bankrupting this country as well, too.
You're saying illegal immigration.
Illegal immigration.
Right.
Individuals that create an illegal act by coming into this country illegally are getting free health care, free education, all on our backs, Joe. And so what we first need to do is we need to build the wall. And I've been saying this on the campaign trail, a physical barrier is needed in all the high traffic areas. You know, we can use a digital wall, we can use technology in some of the other areas. However, when we're building this wall, we need to pay fair market value to these ranchers that own this land instead of coming in with eminent domain like we're seeing with the pipeline companies. I don't support that.
You don't support eminent domain at all?
I do not. I'm a strong private property rights.
So how are we going to build? I mean, I'm going to segue a little bit up. So we're building this pipeline. I mean, the Permian needs to be able to deliver the crude and their natural gas to the coast so they can export it, right? So how do we build a pipeline if you don't support eminent domain?
You need to pay fair market value, and so
well, they're not doing that right now.
No, they're not doing that, and the land is worth whatever the landowner says it's worth. And so I've got land where I've had pipelines come through there. You negotiate with the midstream company and you get it done. But just be able to come in and say, well, we got to have it, and I understand we do. But there's been plenty of pipelines. There's been thousands of pipelines put in this state where it was done the right way. But just kind of streamlining coming in saying that.
So what's the right way?
The right way is to pay what the landowner wants.
So I have an acre plot that you got to put your pipeline through, and I'm gonna say, hey man, I want $1 million a month.
Well, no, they got fair market value, not ridiculous.
Not ridiculous.
Not
okay.
ridiculous. And so what we're seeing right now is that they'll pay you anywhere from $50 to $100 a rod. A rod's 20 feet. And that's really not whenever you're talking about a 50-foot easement, and some areas you need to put it where the landowner wants it. There's ways to get around it. And then you also talk to the pipeline company, what's the cost to go around me? Well, obviously then that's what it's worth to come through my property. And so there's multiple ways to do it. Obviously I'm being fourth generation, I've been in the industry a long time, but I've never left a man's land worse off than I found it when I'd go drill or do any type of oil and gas activities, and whenever I tried to bring pipelines through.
So what can you do in Congress to help with the landowners out there in eminent
That's a
domain?
state issue, the Railroad Commission. That's not a federal issue.
Yeah.
What we need to do is get the federal government out of our business and let the state take care of it.
Take care of it. All right, back to immigration. We're jumping around a little bit, so I hope you're enjoying this.
Yeah.
You know, we've reported a lot of stories, like there's a case down in Junction, court case, where a guy was selling a pound of meth a day, pound of methamphetamine. So have you seen any impact of the drug problem coming from the border? Obviously, we know this from what Border Patrol tells us, what the law enforcement officials saying. They have factories down there in Mexico just generate lots and lots of methamphetamines, and they're bringing it over here. We still have a heroin problem too, but it's not like meth.
Not like meth. It's taken over, and it's taken over District 11. So we're seeing it huge out in the Midland, Odessa area because of I-20. You're seeing it huge down in Junction and Menard and Mason and some of those other smaller counties where the meth is just flooding into these counties. And a lot of that's because we don't have a secure border to stop all this. Now, is a wall going to stop 100% everything? Absolutely not. Criminals are still going to be able to find ways.
What do you say to the left? The left says, well, most of your drugs are coming through our ports of entry. They're not being smuggled across the Rio Grande out in the middle of the country.
I'd like to bring them down to the border and show them where they're coming, because a lot of it is coming through our ports of entry. Number one, the one way to increase that is actually give our Border Patrol and ICE and local authorities the tools and resources necessary to do their job. We're tasking them with the job right now and not giving them the resources. And the federal government needs to step up to the plate and take care of that. Right now, the state of Texas spends $800 million a year on border security. That is a federal border. That's not a state border. It's a federal border. So we need to step up, take care of what our responsibilities are, and put the funding in place. But we're not doing it right now. With all these individuals coming across, and President Trump working with Mexico has slowed the influx of individuals coming here, making Mexico more accountable. It's starting to help. But drugs are still going to come across here until we put the technology and resources in place to identify it and be able to stop it. But we've got to do something, because like you said, meth, it's a District 11 issue. Everywhere I go, we were in Llano County Thursday night at a candidate forum, and a lady from Mason asked, what are we going to do? Once she asked about our stance on marijuana, and then she wanted to talk about the meth issue down there. I've got a friend that has a ranch down in Menard, Texas, or Menard County, where the county sheriff told him, make sure you always have a gun on you. Don't go into your house without one, because they might have turned your house into a meth lab. Because they know the individuals that live down here and the ones that come down as their weekend ranches. And he goes, it's just taking over that area. It's taking over everywhere. And a lot of it's driven through our interstate system, but we've got to slow it down, because drugs are not the only thing that are coming across here. Crime's coming across here. Human trafficking is a huge issue. We're seeing huge amounts of human trafficking, sex trafficking out in the Midland, Odessa area because of the disposable incomes that are high. You see prostitution stings that are happening nonstop in that area because you've got all these individuals, and you've got these counties that are bringing people up, and they bring these kids kids over into this country on the pretense that that's their father. Well, it's really not. And so I don't support family separations when it's your mother and your father. You don't. But these coyotes that are bringing kids over here to exploit them through sex trafficking, to bring drugs across here, I do believe in that. That's what's happening down at our southern border. But a wall will stop a lot of it, about 80 to 90% of it. Increase border security, but on immigration reform, individuals that want to come to this country legally shouldn't have to go through that 5 to 10 year process. That's the big issue, Joe,
Right.
is because individuals that want to come here, want to do it legally, do it the right way.
Yeah, we don't have a valve to relieve the demand.
No.
And you know, I mean, it takes you 15, 20 years sitting in line.
Well, sitting in line, and then you've also see the corruption in the system. And so an example, I've got a family back in Midland, big supporters of mine, that his wife was over here legally. She was going through the process, become a natural U.S. citizen, and she went to the court in El Paso, and the judge in El Paso told her, well, I'm going to have to deport you for 3 to 4 months while your paperwork goes through the process. And she's like, well, I can't do that. I've got 3 children. My husband works. If I did that, he'd have to quit working and take care of the kids. And he goes, well, if you go see this doctor over here, he'll write a note saying it's mental distress, and then you can stay here while it's going through the process. You can't tell me that judge and doctor are not in each other's pocket.
Right.
It's a Ponzi scheme of using the federal bureaucracy to profit.
Right.
And that's just something I don't support. We've got more jobs available today than we have workers. We need to enhance our worker visa program. I have individuals down in South Texas for one of my companies that are here on work visas. Some of the hardest working individuals, they send the majority of their money back to Mexico to their families, but they're here working hard. And so individuals that want to come here, be contributing members of society that want to pay taxes, we need to welcome that, because we've got to get more people here, because right now you're seeing historic unemployment, not only in Texas, not only district level, but at this country. One, a testament to President Trump and his economy. What
Historic low unemployment rates.
Yes, historic
Right.
low.
Right.
And so we've got to get more individuals here. We've got to start working on that program. But immigration reform should be a bipartisan issue. The Democrats don't want to do it. They want open borders. One, because they think that's more voters. When you look at the Hispanic community, they're conservatives. They're strong family values, strong pro-life, but they've just been told their entire lives that they're Democrats.
Let's talk about Trump. So Trump's been impeached.
No, he hasn't.
He's been
The article impeachments haven't gone to the Senate yet.
Okay, well, the House impeached him. But, you know, Congressman Conway, he's been an ardent supporter of Trump throughout the years. So I think a lot of people out in the district want to know, how do you really feel about Trump?
I love Trump. I think he's been great for this country. I think it's a breath of fresh air to have someone that's actually doing what he said he's going to do. He's not a politician. He doesn't care what you think. And he's going to let the American people know that he's fighting for them.
What about the people who say he's corrupt and he's, you know, there's going to be things that eventually the light's going to be shined on it and everything's going to blow up?
If he's corrupt and if this impeachment sham was actually something worth doing, Nancy Pelosi wouldn't be holding the articles of impeachments closer to her and not giving it to the Senate, because they know they don't have anything. If we want to talk about corruption, let's talk about Joe Biden, who publicly laughed about how he withheld $1 billion in foreign aid until they dropped this special prosecutor so his son wouldn't go to jail. That's corruption. The Obama administration corruption, sending pallets of money to Iran. So instead of sending money to Iran...
It wasn't just pallets of money. It was a pallet of like $20 billion.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Just sending money to him. So so Obama sends money to him. President Trump sent missiles to him.
Right. All right. We had a lot of action over New Year's in Iran, in Iraq, where Trump ordered the assassination. They call it an assassination, but you can also say it's a wartime killing, because I mean, the American government killed General Yamamoto during World War II. I mean, we targeted his plane and shot it down, and that was probably a good big turning point of the war during World War II. Well, Trump ordered the same thing against this Soleimani guy. The Iranian head of the Quds of the Iranian Republican Guard. How do you feel about that?
I'm 100% supportive. He organized the attack on our American embassy. And so we're not going to have another Benghazi issue with President Trump in office. We're not going to have this hugs policy that the Obama administration and the president of Mexico has with these drug cartels. We're going to bring force to them. We are the American superpower, and if you attack us, if you come and hurt us, we're going to come after you. This war on terrorism with ISIS and what's happening, Iran has been funneling money to the terrorist organizations. They've been training these individuals, and so they've been committing acts of war, in my opinion, against the United States.
But a lot of people don't want war.
No,
I mean, they don't want war with Iran. There's a gigantic swath. I mean, we're tired.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in Afghanistan nearly 20 years, right?
$3 trillion later.
And we're tired. We don't want war. So what if this ends up with Iran counterattacking, and then all of a sudden it escalates into a big shooting war?
I think that they're all hat, no cattle. if you want to use that when you're talking about Iran. I don't really think that they want to go to war because they can't beat us. I don't want to go to war. We don't want to put American soldiers in harm's way. You don't ever want to see any casualties on foreign soil. But we also can't be taken advantage of. When someone attacks us, you have to show strength in going back and getting them. And we've seen that President Trump, he's going after these heads. He's going after them, and he's taking them out, which I think is fracturing the system. We're starting to see us gain on ISIS and the war on terrorism. You never want to go to war. But if we have to protect American interest and protect what's right for America, then we have to at that time because we do have the superpower.
One last question. The House of Representatives is considering a war powers resolution, right? So what's your take on that?
Well, I think what's happening is the Democrats always get their feelings hurt whenever they're not included, which we can't include them because they've got more leaks, and it just gets out into the media. I mean,
well, they claim that they have this gang of 8, senators and representatives that they can, notify and they won't leak. They claim that.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. Everything gets leaked, especially when you're talking about national security. Those are issues that the president has his national security advisors. He's got individuals that tell him this is the right thing to do, and he made the appropriate decision. The Democrats are doing anything they can to avoid letting the American people know that they're actually doing nothing. They've issued more subpoenas than bills passed since they've taken the majority back. They're going to lose the majority in 2020. We will take back the House. Those 31 seats that flipped in 2018 with Trump back on the ballot, I think we retake the House, and we need to do something. We will control the executive branch, the Senate, and the House. We need to go do what's right for the American people. But I just, it's just laughable what Nancy Pelosi and AOC and all of them want to do. It's just, I've never seen a bunch of individuals that just take their marbles and go home, but they don't get their way. And right now, what we're seeing, I mean, this impeachment inquiry was a complete sham against President Trump. And it didn't work. They obviously didn't realize they didn't have any teeth, or they wouldn't have given him a huge victory for his administration on his new trade deal with Mexico and Canada. Moving forward, they announced it the day that they announced that they're going to do an impeachment inquiry. You're seeing what's happened. Our own congressman trying to fight for President Trump, and the chairman won't even let him talk. It was a complete runaround. And you go back and look at all these Democrats.
You're talking about Conway on the House Intel Committee, and Adam Schiff, the chairman, who's a Democrat from California, wouldn't allow him to Congressman Conway did a really good job getting in there, but the chairman, obviously, the cards were stacked against the Republicans. Right. He didn't care what they had to say. They were going to continue to move forward. They'd already made their mind up, regardless of any evidence. I love when we go back and play all the sound bites from these congressmen that were there during the Bill Clinton days, and everything they're saying about that, it's completely reversed. Every president since Dwight Eisenhower has had, when the Democrats are in control of the House, has had impeachment inquiries against him. They can't, and what the Democrats realize, they cannot beat him at the ballot box in 2020, so they're going to steal this presidency from him when the American people gave it to him. Right. And so it's laughable what the Democrats are doing. They obviously have no desire to actually lead this country. They just want to continue to let politics be over what our national interest, and they just despise President Trump, which he's actually doing what he told the American people we do, which is a breath of fresh air. So you're saying they despise President Trump because he's successful in enacting his policies, right?
And they just don't like the fact that he'll say whatever he wants to say. The American people love it. Yeah. One thing I have seen in District 11.
Well, what about CD11? Do they love it?
They love President Trump.
Do they?
They absolutely love him. I mean, individuals, a breath of fresh air that he's out there.
You have not been approached by a left-leaning Republican or even a Democrat saying, you know what? We need to do something about Trump.
There's a handful of them, but I would say 90.
You won't win the election if you go after him?
No. There's 98% probably very supportive of President Trump. The individuals that are not, of course, the Democrats, I don't really care what they think. I'm running for the Republican nomination. Right. This is a plus 32 red Republican district, probably the most conservative and Republican district in Texas. That's because it's conservative individuals.
All right, let's talk about process a little bit of running for Congress in CD11. Large swath of area you got to travel, a lot of windshield time you said earlier.
Absolutely.
How are you financing this thing? I mean, you have 10 opponents. You got one. I guess Pfluger's raised $700 and something thousand. How's your fundraising going? What's that like? How are you fundraising outside of the Midland, Odessa area? Those kinds of things.
Fundraising's going good. We'll release our numbers next week from the filing period, but you feel like you're a telemarketer whenever you're running for Congress. All you do is work the phone, ask people for money, and go and just have meetings. So when we're out in the district meeting people, then we're also meeting with donors. It's a very expensive race, but
when you say expensive, what do you think? What do you think the total budget's going to be on the?
Oh, it'll be over $1 million.
Really?
Easily, and because this is going to May 26th, there's no way this.
So there's going to be a runoff.
There's no way with 10
Because
people.
with 10 people in there, it's got to be a runoff.
There's got to be a run. I don't see anyone able to get 50 plus one. We like our chances of going to the runoff. Polling's indicating we're heading in that direction. Our message is resonating with the voters. Our strategy's working. But it's going to May 26th, and so getting to March 3rd is the first hurdle. Then the next 3 months after
And
that,
March 3rd is the Republican primary, where everyone can vote for one of these 10 candidates for CD11.
and go vote. I want everyone to get out and vote because I'm tired of people sitting back and say, well, I didn't vote. Well, then you don't have a right to complain if you don't go out and
Right.
vote. But exercise your right to vote. We had people that fought and died for this country for that right, and you need to go out and exercise it because it's real critical that we have a large turnout, or if not, Texas is going to turn blue.
Right. All right. J.Ross.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, you take care. Joe Hyde with San Angelo Live. This has been J.Ross Lacy. He's one of the 10 Republican candidates for congressman for Congressional District 11.